I have a piece of video that I'm going to show you in a minute or so that is about 12 seconds long, but within that 12 seconds, I believe you will see everything you could ever need or want to see about Donald Trump, who he really is, and why he should never, ever be allowed anywhere near the office of President of the United States or any other position of authority where he would have power to affect the lives of other people. This is a clip that I assume many of you have already seen. It's been fairly widely circulated on social media over the last day or so. Donald Trump appeared on Fox News for a televised event hosted by Harris Faulkner that aired before the Kamala Harris interview, and this was supposed to be a forum about women's issues. Donald Trump, the women's candidate, and I'll just play the clip for you again. 12 seconds, and it tells you everything about Donald Trump that you could possibly want to know.
Amber Thurman's family have come out on a press call, and they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah? And I want to
Get better ratings, I promise.
The name Amber Thurman is probably familiar to most of you watching this, even if you don't know all the details of her story or it didn't immediately ring a bell. You've heard the name in recent history. Her name came up during the vice presidential debate a few times. Tim Walz mentioned her. And if you don't know the story, I will share with you the basics of it from this article published in September on ProPublica by Kavitha Sarana. In her final hours, Amber Nicole Thurman suffered from a grave infection that her suburban Atlanta hospital was well equipped to treat. She'd taken abortion pills and encountered a rare complication. She had not expelled all of the fetal tissue from her body. She showed up at Piedmont Henry Hospital in need of a routine procedure to clear it from her uterus, called a dilation and curettage, or D&C. But just that summer, her state had made performing the procedure a felony with few exceptions. Any doctor who violated the new Georgia law could be prosecuted and face up to a decade in prison. Thurman waited in pain in a hospital bed, worried about what would happen to her 6-year-old son, as doctors monitored her infection spreading, her blood pressure sinking and her organs beginning to fail. It took 20 hours for doctors to finally operate. By then, it was too late. The otherwise healthy 28-year-old medical assistant, who had her sights set on nursing school, should not have died, an official state committee recently concluded. So, that's the young woman whose family was speaking before Trump's televised event there on Fox News. That's where they're coming from. That's their story. That's Amber's story. And Trump's response to that, as you saw in that 12-second clip, was to kind of chuckle and say that's nice when he learned that they were going to be doing an event before his, and then to turn to the audience and say, we're going to get higher ratings, I promise. That woman is dead. Indirectly, but nonetheless, because of Donald Trump. He contributed to that woman's death, and certainly not just hers. I mean, even if he didn't have a personal connection to it, that's a ghoulish thing to say. That's an absolutely monstrous thing to say about the family of a young woman who left behind a child who died a completely preventable death. That's a horrible thing to say. Donald Trump says it without even giving it a second thought. That was his first instinct. Oh, someone who's opposed to me is having their own event? Don't worry, more people are going to watch me. Don't worry, everybody, it's fine. The ratings on this will be higher. He thinks that other people care about ratings as much as he does. That's one of the things I've always noticed about him. It's not just that he is incapable of talking about things in any other terms besides popularity or perceived popularity, ratings, numbers, etc., etc. It's not just that he sees everything like that. He thinks everybody else sees it that way too. Most other people, even most other Republicans, even most other zealously pro-life people would at least have the intelligence and, if not the decency, then the self-awareness to pretend to feel something about it, even if they genuinely didn't. To at least act like there was some feeling in you, there was some sensitivity, to treat that family with some respect, with some regard for what they've gone through, for the loss that they have sustained. Even if you believe that abortion should be illegal, to at least react to that with some show of respect, however pretended and opportunistic and cynical it might be. Donald Trump has no use even for that. He doesn't care if you see what a piece of shit he is. Because he doesn't think he is a piece of shit for saying that. And he has enough people around him and enough people supporting him, including in the electorate, that tell him, no, you're fine. Go ahead and joke about the death of that woman who died as a result of a pregnancy complication and a complication to a medical abortion, to a pharmaceutical abortion, who wouldn't have died if not for you. Go ahead and joke about that. Go ahead and brag about your ratings. That's fine. We like that. 12 seconds. 12 seconds of video. And tells you who Donald Trump is, what kind of a human being he is. I've said many times myself, and I am by no means the first person or the only person to say this about Donald Trump, but there is no bottom to this. Every time you think that he can't possibly sink any lower, he shows you how much lower he can sink. There is no bottom to how depraved he is, to how insensitive he is, to how selfish he is. He is narcissistic right down to the bone. There is nothing in him but ego and ambition. Nobody else counts for anything, unless he can use them, unless they can help him. Then he might value them situationally for a little while. There is no bottom to Donald Trump. There is no limit to his narcissism and his selfishness and his depravity. He's just a fundamentally bad human being who should not be placed in charge of this country. I'm still somewhat bewildered that I and other people even have to make that argument. He needs to lose this election, and he needs to lose it resoundingly. Because even though there's no bottom to him, there can be an end to his political career. We can be done with this on November 5th. If enough of us get together and vote for Kamala Harris for President of the United States, and she and Tim Walz win this election and defeat Donald Trump and defeat J.D. Vance, we won't see the bottom of him, but we may finally see the back of him. And that might be just as good.